Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fumbling Gurus, a podcast that covers the NFL. And now, your hosts, Tom, John, and Gannon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Week 9 edition of the Fumbling Gurus. There was a little bit of stuff that happened this past week, and today, I don't know, trade deadline, something like that. A few moves, like record setting with the amount that happened. I don't know, nothing too big. Before we get in all that, I think it's important to have a couple words, just one, two words. How did your team perform this week? We're going to start with you, Gannon.
Fabulously.
And Tom, how did your team do this weekend?
Um, I, I, I just want to paint it black. Yeah, that's gonna be my theme until we get a win. Paint it black. Hmm.
All right, fair enough. So what I'm hearing is that Gannon, you had yourself a pretty good weekend, and Tom, you probably drank a bunch of cherry cokes to drown your sorrows.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah.
We're not sponsored by Cherry Coke, but if Cherry Coke wants to sponsor us, he's your guy. Mountain Dew, same thing. He's your guy, so spread the word. Well, guys, I kind of do want to jump right into some of the stuff that occurred today. We had 10 moves, 10 trade deadline moves made, record setting. I believe the highest was seven, set like 99 or eight, something like that. So a lot of moves, and we're gonna kind of discuss some. Well, we've got we'll talk about the Bears first, and so the Bears kind of got things rolling. They traded a second round draft pick for Steelers wide receiver Chase Claypool. Gannon, Justin Fields, he's a young quarterback, doesn't have a lot of weapons. People keep saying it's his skills players. Do you like this trade? Do they give up too much? What are your thoughts on it?
What did they give up for him?
They gave up a second round draft pick for him, but they're also going to have to pay him in the offseason some money to keep him around. I don't know what it's worth. I have no idea.
God, I just don't know. It was the Saints. Is that what you said? I'm trying to look for it right now.
so
I'm
so
sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. It was the Chicago Bears trading the Pittsburgh Steelers for Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool, kind of a young receiver, doesn't get a ton of separation, contested catch guy. Um, Kind of expected to be kind of the next big Pittsburgh Steeler receiver. But kind of didn't fit them. They have some guys that they're ready to move up, but they traded a second round draft pick to the Bears.
Here's my thoughts on it. Were the Bears a wide receiver away? Does it help them? Absolutely. But is it all they need? Probably not. I the Bears, they're not doing too hot this season. 3-5. I mean, it's probably a rebuild year for them. Chase Claypool is a good pickup, but I don't think they're going far with him, like at this moment in time.
Does adding a receiver like Claypool help Justin Fields develop and maybe kind of see whether or not they have their guy or if they need to make a trade? Tom, your thoughts?
I think it does. Um, I don't know. Are they wide receiver away? They might be. I mean, if Fields is their guy and he can produce, they have Montgomery, Herbert in the backfield, which are both decent running backs. They really don't have many receivers. They have St. Brown is kind of coming up. Harry, I mean, based on their depth chart, Mooney's their starter, so they don't really have weapons right now. So I think Pittsburgh's known for developing receivers, and Claypool could help them out. I was surprised though because Claypool's been bailing the Steelers out of a lot of trouble last couple weeks. So it's interesting they're willing to get rid of him. I know they're not doing great this year, and they're probably you know, they're not going to compete. So why are we keeping these weapons around? Maybe that's part of it. But I always liked them in Pittsburgh. and I think he'll do well in Chicago. Maybe that's what they're doing. They somehow need to figure out if Fields is a guy, and they don't have the wide receivers to figure that out right now. So maybe that'll help.
I think Pittsburgh was looking at it as they want to give George Pickens more of an opportunity. Pickens? Yeah,
Yeah.
Pickens.
Mm-hmm.
To give more opportunity in the offense. I think he's a more dynamic receiver than Claypool. Claypool is, like I said, he's a contested catch guy, and he has decent hands, but he also has a tendency to make some drops. But what's weird to me about this trade is that the Bears were sellers, not buyers. They traded Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Was it yesterday? And excuse me, and they received a second round pick and a fifth round pick. So here they trade Roquan Smith, but then they also traded their pass rusher Robert Quinn over to the Eagles. And so it's like if you're going to sell your key pieces on defense, why are you trading? But then if they think that Claypool is a piece that they can build around on offense, you're trading a second round pick for a key piece that you can build around your offense. I don't hate the trade. I thought they gave up quite a bit for him, but I guess I mean, a lot of these are we'll wait and see, right? But this one in particular, I think is a little bit more wait and see. I mentioned another trade that occurred. Robert Quinn gets traded to the Eagles. We have an Eagles fan here. Go ahead, rub it in. 18 and a half sacks last year. He gets traded. Where does he fit? How does he fit? And what do you think of that trade?
I mean, I like it. I think that he's going to be I don't think that he's going to be the end all be all, but he definitely helps. I know that the Eagles are planning to part ways after the season ends. I heard that. But God, they paid a salary. I think it was from the Bears, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the Bears paid half of his salary, and we gave up a fourth. Like, we're getting this guy for next to nothing, and he's a solid player. So I think that it'll work out in the end.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, the Eagles are getting themselves a really good pass rusher. Little older, but 18 and a half sacks last year. If he could even come close to that, the Eagles got themselves a really good player without a lot of money. It's, the Eagles obviously doing well, adding talent, and we've got two teams that are kind of the cream of the crop when it comes to the NFL. Obviously, we have the Eagles, but I'm not including them here. We've got the Bills and we have the Chiefs. Now, wasn't a trade deadline move, but the Chiefs traded for Kadarius Toney, a former first round draft pick who's had trouble at UF. Then he goes to the Giants and he's had some troubles with injuries, also not buying into the system, all that other stuff. But the Chiefs pick him up and they just threw a third round pick towards him, and it was one of the compensatory picks. So it's not even a really good third round pick. It's basically a fourth round pick. Tom, what do you think of that move? Is it one that's going to pay dividends this year, next year? Kind of, what do you think about that move?
Uh, it was interesting to me. Um, I mean, it's one of those like Giants already were kind of hurting on that front, and then that was kind of the guy you kept hearing was the focus for the team, or at least someone they felt they could build up. I thought, and that's what I've kind of heard of Tony. I know we haven't really seen much from him, or at least not that I've heard of. Um, but I mean, anyone that goes to Kansas City seems to do well. I think it's an offense that kind of brings out the best in whatever your abilities are. They're very flexible in what they can do and how they approach the play calling and stuff like that. Um, so it'll be interesting. Maybe in a different offense, he will shine a little bit more. But I know he was heavily talked about heading into the season and last year. So it'll be interesting to see if he kind of shines in a different offense. Um, but I mean, the Giants started out a great year, so it's interesting they kind of took some rebuilding picks for a wide receiver instead of trying to continue the momentum they have. I know their offense doesn't heavily rely on receivers, but it can't help them to get rid of the ones they have. So
It's
I don't know.
interesting that a team that doesn't have receivers is trading a second year receiver.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this screams of a guy who's I don't like the word head case necessarily, but a distraction. Um, when he was with UF, he was arrested, had with gun charges on
Mm-hmm.
his way to like kill somebody or something. It
Jeez.
was a big time story, and there's a lot of red flags with this guy.
Mm.
I may misspoke in there. I know that he had a gun. He was on his way somewhere with it. This is not somebody that you would typically go, well, I want him on my team. Great talent, but a lot of issues. But Andy Reid, he's a guy that can keep things under control. If there's a player to succeed, Reid is the right coach for him. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see how that plays out. The other team I want to talk about, the Buffalo Bills. They made two trades today. They traded with the Indianapolis Colts to pick up Jonathan Taylor. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. They got Hines. I don't know how to say his first name. His last name's Hines. Good pass catching running back. And they traded with the Atlanta Falcons a seventh round pick for safety Dean Marlowe. Gannon, the Bills, they're Super Bowl bound. Like that's the way they're attacking this, right?
I would agree they're Super Bowl bound. I don't know why you trade. Was Zach Moss not cutting it in Buffalo? Like Naeem, I'll just call him Hines as well. I mean, like, how much better is Hines? Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
um, it's I don't know. I really don't. I
I,
I know that it's yeah. I don't know.
I think
Zach
Moss.
Moss, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was just saying. I don't think he ever really fit in their offense. They couldn't. They couldn't get him to do what they wanted him to do. And they have Singletary, who's kind of been, well, he's been their main back. I don't think we've really seen Zach Moss at all this year. Um, and Zach Moss coming in was one of those guys a lot of people were excited for. So I think Buffalo is trying to cut in their losses, and we haven't had like a Singletary's been doing well, but we haven't had a like franchise running back, and they're trying to find that. Maybe Hines is. I know Hines is behind Jonathan Taylor, so he's not going to get a ton of time. So maybe this gives him a shot to shine. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard when you're behind Jonathan Taylor to assess the other running back in that offense. So
Yeah, I mean, so just to give you guys an idea, Zach Moss, rookie year 2020, came out, had a 4.3 yard per carry on 112 carries. 2021, he had 96 carries for 345 yards, 3.6 yards average. This year, he has 17 carries for 91 yards.
yeah, it's like two
So
two carries a week average. Like,
Yeah.
a little over three, 5 games, 17 carries. Not very. He's just not a part of the game plan. They want a guy that's a pass catcher and a good pass blocker, and Hines is that. I don't know how good he is running between the tackles, but they have Josh Allen. Do they need to run between the tackles with the running back?
mm-hmm.
So we got more to talk about. We got lots of trades. We're going to be heavily focused on that until we kind of get through, and then we'll talk about games. Gannon, you sent a message earlier saying my team, the Eagles, better get themselves a running back. They got themselves the pass rusher. Are you disappointed that the Eagles didn't make a trade for another back?
I mean, I feel like Miles Sanders, you kind of needed another running back to try to do a, transition so Miles Sanders isn't the only back. Um, I would have liked to see Kareem Hunt, but obviously that didn't happen. Are Eagles a complete team? I mean, got to say they are at this point. But I would have liked to see a running back. But if they think that they are good and they don't need one, then I guess that's fine. But I am a little disappointed to answer your question.
And Tom, the Bucks, they didn't make any moves. This is a team that we're going to get into it when we talk about what happened Thursday night. But this is a team that, by all accounts, is not playing up to its level that we thought they should be. They don't have a ton of cap space, especially next year. Were you surprised at all that they didn't try to make some sort of move, or were you pretty much, yeah, this is what they're going to be?
Sorry, I missed the beginning of that. You said the Bucks.
Yeah, talking about the Tampa Bay Bucks, how
Uh,
they didn't make a move. Is that what you expected? Did you hope to see something?
I don't know. What would we do? You know, there's. I feel like we have the pieces, so that's not necessarily a problem, and we just need to fit them together. So to me, it's like what trades are we gonna do? Who are we gonna reach out for? What are we looking for? Um, you know, we just had who was it, Barrett, that went down with an injury.
Hmm.
So I mean, there's a couple of spots we could have filled, but it's also like we're not necessarily making a case for ourselves to make a run this year. So, you know, why would we spend capital to go get and fill these pieces when we're already kind of on our heels? So, I think that's kind of where we're coming from is, you know, we can fill these spots, we can try and do some of these moves, but if we're not going to get our s together heading into this season, what's the point? You know, let's just figure things out this season, whatever, and I just prep for next season.
Yeah. They're probably going to need to save, some space for a new QB next season. So,
I'm
That's
I'm
true.
I'm still on the bench Brady bandwagon.
love it.
Well, we are going to talk about a team that got really active in the trade deadline, but I'm holding off for right now. So kind of a trade that did occur that to me kind of raised eyebrows because I thought Miami would be interested in. TJ Hawkinson of the Detroit Lions
Mm-hmm.
got traded to the the 6-1. Did I read that right? Is that correct? Minnesota Vikings. Kind of a weird trade. Well, I mean, I saw the trade, but look at the compensation. It's a little weird. So they're trading Hawkinson. Minnesota receives TJ Hawkinson, a 2023 fourth round pick, and a fourth round pick in 2024 on a conditional fourth round draft pick. And Detroit receives a second round pick and a 2024 third round pick. So got pretty good value out of a tight end, but had to sweeten the deal. Hawkinson's a good player. Um, I don't know how familiar you guys are with him. He's a tight end. I tend not to follow tight ends too close. But Vikings see themselves as a legit team here and are making a push, trying to fill the need. Tom, what are your thoughts kind of just about that and the compensation for a guy like Hawkinson?
Yeah, I mean the Vikings are off to a great start of this season, and I mean they already have weapons. I mean, you look at Justin Jefferson. That's pretty much all you need a wide receiver. They have Dalvin Cook, running backs pretty much covered. Kirk Cousins, he's pretty much the Derek Carr over there. No, wait. I think they
Uh,
switched. I think they switched roles this year.
yeah.
Um, but I think that was the only piece they're really missing. Can you name the tight end on the Vikings before Hawkinson?
No, because the Bucks had the one tight end that I knew.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's kind of the piece they're missing, and the, I mean, right? I'm thinking of the Buccaneers when we're doing the best on offense. We have a tight end that can kind of sit in the middle of the field, and he's your dump guy. Like something's going wrong, you just dump it to the tight end, but you give him that chance for Justin Jefferson to do his thing, Dalvin Cook to do his thing, and if they're not, straight to the tight end. Let's get some yards, and I think that'll add. I mean, we saw Hutchinson had I was watching the game last week against Miami. Hodgkinson almost broke away for like a 80-yard touchdown on one of the plays. So he's one of those tight ends that can be pretty much a wide receiver. I mean, he wasn't fast enough to actually get to the end zone, but still, I mean, I think it's going to be a scary offense if they can get Hodgkinson in there, get him into their program, and do some things. They have weapons at every position now.
Yeah, I agree. And Tom, I'm going right back to you here because this is your team that I'm going to talk about here. The Jacksonville Jaguars have decided to take a gamble on a guy, and they trade for Calvin Ridley, the
Mm-hmm.
suspended wide
Mm-hmm.
receiver. And what is a very interesting set because it is a fifth round draft pick that can be a fourth round pick. No, a fifth round draft pick that can be a sixth round draft pick if he doesn't get reinstated.
Hmm.
And if he makes the team, it's a fifth round draft pick. But if he signs a long term deal, it'll be a fourth round draft pick. And if he plays well, it can be a third round draft pick, a second, third, fourth. I don't know. There's a lot of variables with this, but they get themselves a receiver that did very well in Calvin Ridley before he was suspended. What do you think about the Jaguars making that move?
Yeah, I think. I mean, can I officially change over to the Jags for this season, or do I have to stay on the Bucks bandwagon?
I think they have the same record, so I believe you're allowed to change.
Okay, cool. So okay, all right. I'll consider that for next week. Um, it's interesting. The other aspect of this is wasn't well. Okay, so my first thoughts, right? Jaguars just signed a huge contract with Christian Kirk. So what are they not? I mean, he's been doing good, but I don't think he was worth that huge contract. Um, but what like why are we now going out and trying to get another kind of top tier receiver? Um, I don't know. Maybe they felt like there was a bargain to be had with that wide receiver. Um, but the other second part of the interesting aspect here is wasn't Ridley banned because he gambled on a game, and the game he gambled on was the Falcons against the Jaguars.
Yes, you are 100% correct.
So I don't know. It just throws a little salt on things. I don't even know what to do with that info. But it'll be interesting. I think they're really trying to build a core around Lawrence and trying to build up some of the team. I mean, Etienne's been taking off the last 2 weeks. I don't remember the backup's name. Robinson, wasn't James Robinson. Traded him away, and now Etienne's the guy. There's some backups, but it's a big gap there. Um, and I think wide receivers just still missing something. They can't quite get that part of the game going. And I think maybe this is part of trying to bring that in and get this going. Um, I think they're putting in some good pieces. I don't think they're quite there yet. But it's just interesting to me that, they went out in the offseason, huge contract for wide receiver, and then the trade they do is another wide receiver. So I don't know what to do with that yet. It's just I don't know why, you know.
Hey, Ridley is a legit number one receiver.
Hmm.
The guy's good. I think one of the problems with the Jaguars offense is they're slow. They have a lot of possession guys, and they really miss that over the top speed. The guy can run every route, and Ridley is that guy. So I I was okay with it. Um, it's a lot of conditionals, which I'd like. Protect yourself on a player who is suspended for the year and has to be reinstated.
Hmm.
Gannon, I'll give you kind of a second to talk about the Jaguars in that trade because it is an kind of an odd trade. You don't think of a suspended player usually leaving a team.
No, you really don't. Calvin Ridley is good. I think that you didn't give up a first for him, or right? So, hey, I think that with the end of the season looming, I think that Jacksonville might have one of those top picks in the draft. Sorry, Tom. But it's still kind of a rebuild. You get in a new coach. Calvin Ridley's only going to help that team.
Yeah, I agree. Just kind of for those who haven't seen, I'm just going to kind of list a couple other trades. We're not really going to discuss too much because I don't. They're kind of just pieces, like depth pieces. The Steelers traded for William Jackson the third, gave up a seventh round pick, or getting a seventh round pick, gave up a sixth round pick for him. Washington football team gave up the receiver, gave up the player. And then the Falcons traded uh, for Rashad Fenton, cornerback from the Kansas City Chiefs, for a seventh round draft pick. But there were two kind of trades that occurred with the Miami Dolphins, and we're going to discuss them a little bit because, well, they're kind of big moves. They're probably the biggest trades that occurred today. For starters, Miami traded a fifth round draft pick and picked up 49ers running back Jeff Wilson Jr. Good depth piece, number two back. He fits the system. Obviously, has worked with uh, McDaniel earlier when he was with San Francisco. So I like that move a lot. Don't really need to go too much into that because the big piece was the Denver Broncos trading Bradley Chubb for a first round draft pick, a fourth round draft pick, and Miami's number two running back Chase Edmonds. Gannon, you kind of know this guy a little bit. Plays for the Denver Broncos. Used to play for the Denver Broncos. What did you think when you heard that trade?
I think that Miami got a very good linebacker out of this trade. I mean, Chase Edmonds, he was good. I mean, they traded for a running back, so they filled that piece there. I don't know, that's scary. Bradley Chubb with the already dominant defense of Miami Dolphins. Watch out.
Um, when you saw Miami gave up a first round draft pick for this guy, what kind of went through your mind with it? Were you like, well, Jonathan's gonna talk about this for 65 minutes on today's podcast, or what did you think?
Yeah. Um, I mean, he's one of those. Uh, I mean, to me, a veteran linebacker that knows, like, you know what you're getting. And I think he'll bring a lot to that defense. A defense that's already doing well. And, you remind us every week they're missing their 2, 3, 14, and 16 cornerback. We already know that. Um, but I think it adds just more depth to the team. They're clearly trying to bulk up and make a run this season. So I think that's a good piece to add. I like the fact that they're bringing in, they got rid of one running back, which Mostert's kind of taken over the backfield. So they're getting rid of to me, Edmonds and Mostert were kind of similar in how they approached, the position. And I think, one, you're bringing in another running back now that um, has played with the coach before, kind of knows the scheme, somewhat familiar, right? And he adds a little bit different of a play style. I mean, before in San Francisco, of course, now they have, McCaffrey and don't need to worry about necessarily having a backup there. And I think what their main guy's injured anyway, so he'll be coming back. And now this is kind of their third string, right? And they're trading him so they're getting good value out of him. But he's a good running back. He's been helping the 49ers for the last couple of weeks. And I think he's going to do well in Miami. Um, he adds, I see Miami more as the speed, and I think he adds a little bit of strength to that. Straight up the middle kind of running. And he's still quick, but he's not as quick as some of the others on the team. And I think it'll just add a new dynamic. Um, so I can't find anything wrong with the way they approach this. I think they took a redundant factor in Edmonds and replaced him on the defense, and then just immediately went out and replaced that hole in the offense. So I think they did a pretty good job.
I think one concern with Edmonds is that he went from like a outside zone team to an inside zone team, and he just didn't really fit schematically. He seemed to
Hmm.
I shouldn't say he didn't fit. He seemed to struggle with the new scheme, and he's supposed to be the super soft hands, great pass catcher, and he dropped a lot of key passes this year,
Hmm.
which is why he ended up losing his starting job to Mostert. So I think Edmonds was kind of frustrating the coaching staff a little bit. They paid him decent money, and so they got some cap relief by trading him, and then they picked up Wilson. I like both moves. uh, I was listening to another podcast about the Miami Dolphins, and they're talking about it, and it really kind of clicked, and that is the secondary has always been the strengths, right? Miami's known for their cover zero, man to man, and send these exotic blitzes and trust their expensive corners. Well, their expensive corners are hurt, so they traded for this pass rusher. They drafted a pass rusher, and they have this expensive defensive line. It's like, let's attack offenses differently. Let's stop needing to blitz as much, and maybe get home with 4-man fronts. And so I'm interested to see how it plays out. I know that I was a little hesitant because I thought Miami needed secondary help, and losing a first round draft pick hurts because you don't get to replace cheap talent. Instead, you have to pay this guy, 15, $20 million a year, but he's a very good player. I mean, he's an elite pass rusher, one of the tops in the league, good leader. If he stays healthy, this is a home run. So that's kind of the big question with that. So that's kind of all the trades. They did miss one. I'm gonna just again touch on real quick. Denver Broncos traded the New York Jets for defensive end Jacob Martin. He's just a depth piece, kind of replaced the 53-man roster when Chubb got traded. But there was trade deadline important. It happened today. But I don't know if you guys know this, but there was football played last week. And there were some all right games that were played last week. And because I know Tom is so excited to do this, they played Thursday night, first game of the week. Tom, talk to me about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Baltimore Ravens, and you can make it short. I won't be too bad, too hard on you.
Yeah, it started out well. Started out good. I think that was like I don't know. It was like the first touchdown we've scored in our first quarter or something all season. Something stupid like that. So I mean, it started out well. Offense was kind of clicking. We were starting to see a little bit of movement there. I think we went up 10-0 or something in the first quarter, and they started coming back a little bit there. But then it just like stopped after that. We couldn't get things going. We really had no offense. Then it was just like punt, 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 punt after that. So I don't know. It just there's a lack of energy on the team. There's a lack of people wanting to. I mean, there's Warren Sapp's one of the historical figures for the Buccaneers. He did an analysis on one of the plays, one of the captains on the team. You can find it if you'd like on the internets. Um, but it just kind of epitomized the Buccaneers this season, where it just shows one of the captains on the team just kind of following behind the play and looking at which understandable the context, right? We don't know what was going on in that play, but again, it just kind of personifies what I've been thinking or feeling, that it's like there's just no energy, there's no urgency to want to win a game. There's no, this is the first time I think either in his career, or like since his like second year in the league, that Brady's lost 3 games in a row. Um,
Second time in his career.
yeah, and it's like I just don't see them trying to win. And that's all I want, right? Like I get it, you can't win every game, you can't have great seasons every season, but it's like not even fun to watch them right now. Like there's no spark. There's no offense doing, trying something to get back into the game. It's just football, and it's just not fun to watch for me.
I Can understand that. Gannon, do you have any thoughts on that, or should we just move right along?
Man, wasn't this the second straight game with like drop passes? Like, I feel like if anything, the Bucks would have cleaned that up, right? Like if any team.
Yeah.
But and Brady's interception, which I mean, I don't know. Yeah, feel for you, Tom. Feel for you.
You said something that you said boring, and
Mm.
nothing to me screamed boring than that Broncos Jaguars game over in London. I actually felt bad for England. I mean, it
Uh,
was awful. And the Jaguars looked like they were going to just win the game, and then Lawrence and Russell Wilson didn't play well, and but they did enough that they escape. And this week just felt that way on a lot of games. I mean, it just felt like okay. So the Cardinals Vikings game ended close,
mm-hmm.
but that game was like it wasn't close until the end. Bears Cowboys. It kind of got maybe a little bit close, but the Cowboys dominated that game all the way around. And it just felt like all these games were like that. But there was one game in particular that was very exciting. And it was also the winner of this game would be the leader of the NFC South, including a Hail Mary pass to tie the game, to win it with an extra point, but something happened. Gannon, what happened? Because I know Tom is dying to talk about this, but Gannon, I know that you are the person that is an expert at dissecting this play. What happened?
Really didn't watch that game, and
All
I
right.
think you know this. But here's the thing. Look, who goes into this week thinking, "Oh, the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to watch that game." Unless you're a fan of those two teams, I, come on.
You mean PJ Walker doesn't do it for you?
No, no, not really. And I mean Marcus Mariota, he's my boy, but I ain't watching you. Sorry.
Oh, so Tom, you had a rooting interest in this game. What did you see? Is this are the Falcons really a division winner?
Dude, I mean, okay, so for context, right? Basically, because the Bucks lost on Thursday, going into this game, whoever won was going to be the leader in the NFC South. The Panthers or the Falcons, whoever won. And I really wanted the Panthers to win because one, they're like a defeated team right now, and then to see a little resurgence would be awesome. But two, everyone in the NFC South would be 3-5. The Panthers would be number one in the division with no head coach. They still have DJ Moore, but no other wide receivers. Foreman's been coming out as a pretty decent running back. Um, but still, they traded McCaffrey, top three, top running back in the league, whatever you want to say. Um, and now all of a sudden they're top of the NFC South. So that was kind of my wish, and they almost had it. Very final play of the game. I think it literally like the last second of the game. Hail Mary. DJ Moore brings it down in the end zone, ties the game, not with no extra point, right? Just ties it with the 6 points, and then he pulls his helmet off and gets a flag for celebration, which pushes the extra point back. They don't get it. Overtime, and yeah, Falcons were able to win in overtime. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, to make matters better, Tony Dungy was talking about that, saying, "But he's off the field. He was off the field. He took his helmet off the field. Why was that a penalty?" And the rule expert for NBC actually said that shouldn't have been a penalty.
Hmm.
So to just add an extra layer to it, the guy makes this incredible play. He takes his helmet off, and we're gonna flag him 15 yards.
Yeah, I mean, to me, right? Like, I get it's a sporting competition, but it's also entertainment. And is it entertaining if the guy scores a game-winning Hail Mary touchdown and then just walks off the field? No. We want to see a little bit of that. Don't flag the people for doing that, please. He's not taunting the other team. He's not. Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, the Falcons are number one in the division. I don't know how. Everyone sucks in the division right now, so it's whatever.
If only we had people that, knew the rules of football, that can make these kind of decisions.
And should like be on the field and help judge game.
Yeah,
It'd be awesome if we could find
it'd be
those.
great.
It doesn't happen. Yeah. So kind of it was a very weird game, but I kind of want to transition into the only game that had two teams with winning records. And Gannon, your boys, Giants, the team that I said has to be 15-2 before I take them serious. Well, they dropped their second game of the year to the Seattle Seahawks, 27-13. Did I curse them by starting Daniel Jones this week?
I mean, you definitely did, but also I cursed them because last week I said the Seahawks are going to beat the Giants, and they did. So, yay me. I'm glad they lost, because at this point I'm just trying to like shove the rest of the NFC beast down so the Eagles can be so far ahead that it won't matter. But the Cowboys and the Giants keep rooting their ugly heads, and I don't know. I'm just glad they lost. And Geno Smith ain't doing too bad, surprising me. Um, Seahawks, are they a contender? I don't know.
Best team in the NFC, I think.
Yeah,
So
I love it.
another team that I have been saying their record is overrated. Don't pay attention to them. They're not that good. The New York Jets, they lose to the New England Patriots 22-17. Tom, the Jets, they are fake, right? Like, we can agree. This showed that they are fake.
I don't know. I think to me it showed they really miss their running back, Brees Hall. I think they really miss him because they could not get much going on the ground game, and I think that kind of. I mean, Wilson was his. Let me pull up his stats. 355 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, are they pretenders? If they had Brees Hall, I think they win that game.
But they lost, and that's what matters.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I think they're gonna be a contender in the coming years, and when they get all their pieces back together, and clearly they have something special and all. So Wilson's been doing well since he came back. Because the first couple games I think they lost, he wasn't there. He was injured coming out of preseason. I don't know, man. They're sticking in games and they're doing well. I can't
All right,
say
so
they're a
they're just
pretender.
so they're just like the Giants. Got it. So I'm glad we cleared that up. No, interesting. I don't believe in Wilson, but I but he did have a good game. I mean, they only scored 17 points, but his numbers look good.
Name a quarterback you have believed in the last couple of years here.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh
No,
my
not even
God.
him.
Not even him. Not even him.
I lost
We
faith
could
a
pull
little
up
bit.
receipts. We could pull up receipts. We can pull up receipts.
I was before the Ravens fourth
No.
quarter. Okay.
We can pull up receipts.
I would say it didn't even last 3
Hire
weeks.
everyone.
It was like week 3.
Gosh.
Week 2.
Week
Yeah.
Anyways, let's forget that. I don't want to. I do want to talk about having faith. And Tom, I'm going to let you. Me and you texted back and forth when the Dolphins were playing the Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions go up 7-0. Miami fumbles the ball. The Lions score. It's 14-0. Did I panic, or was I confident?
I was panicking a little bit. I mean, they were just letting them roll right down the field. I don't think you say much else besides that. Like every play was a chunk yardage of like 20 yards. But But I think if I had to assess your demeanor in that first quarter, I would say measured confidence that they would come back. Because I believe your exact statement was, I knew this was going to be a shootout. We just need to wait and come back a little bit. So I would say no. You didn't waver. I think there was a moment in the game. I can't remember when it was, but there was a moment where you were starting to teeter a little bit. But then Miami started taking off after that. So does that seem fair?
That is exactly what I wanted you to say. I went in there and they scored, and you immediately responded. Basically, Miami didn't look good. I said, I'm not concerned. Then Miami fumbled, and the Detroit went right down the field, and I said, "Uh-oh," but I wasn't super concerned. And I said that Miami's going to move the ball at will. They're going to score points. The defense will make adjustments. And at one point, it got a little nerve wracking. But Tua Tagovailoa is playing at a different level this year. The guy is a legit superstar if he can just stay healthy, and he showed it. The guy was nearly perfect, flawless. Miami 31-27. I mean, it just looked like Miami was in control on offense. And I mean, Tua ended with 382 yards passing, should have been 4 touchdowns. It was a beautiful thing. Detroit's bad. I get it. But it's still nice to see your quarterback just come in and dominate. Another dominant performance by the Eagles. Go ahead, Gannon. Rub it in that both Dolphins and Eagles beat Pittsburgh Steelers. Go ahead.
I just want to say right now, getting AJ Brown is probably the best thing the Eagles have ever done. Like, I Jalen Hurts needed weapons. He has those weapons. It shows. No interceptions. 285 yards. Like, God, I just dominant performance by the Eagles. 9 minutes into the fourth quarter, you bench all your starters because you know you're that confident. I don't know. I best team in the NFC. I'm gonna say.
We already talked about them, the Seahawks. We don't backtrack, bud. Come on, move
Oh,
forward.
okay. 7-0. Undefeated. About to be 8-0, but I digress.
So Eagles dominant, Dolphins won, Bucks. We're sorry. Anything, Tom Gannon? Anything else that happened last week that you want to discuss before we jump into future matchups?
Uh, I think so. One thing we didn't really touch on, that Giants Seahawks game was pretty close down to the wire. If you were watching, I think they were down one score. They got a punt with like a minute and a half, 2 minutes left, um, and they fumbled the punt. I think it was the second fumbled, like muffed punt in the game from the Giants. Gave the ball back, and that secured the game. So the scoreline to me doesn't reflect how close that game was, but it was a pretty tight game. Um, yeah, that's the only thing I need to add.
And Giants loss,
Yeah, I
following the
guess.
whole point that they needed to be 15-2, so they better win out for me to have any faith in them. I still think they're a playoff team at this point. Good. I mean, they faced a tough team in Seattle. I can't believe I actually said that, but
Mm-hmm.
they fared all right. This week, are the Bucks on? No, okay. So we get
No, we're on
super.
bye. It's cool. We're on bye. Just move on. Yeah.
Okay, well, the Bucks are facing a team that is struggling as well,
Yeah.
and the Rams at.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, what do you expect out of this game? What do you hope to see out of this game?
I don't know. This is another one of those games where we should win. The Rams are struggling. They haven't had any momentum. But then it's like, how can I say we haven't had any momentum? We're struggling. I really hope this isn't just a game where two teams that are struggling go out and struggle against each other. Because that's kind of what I'm thinking this game's going to end up being. It's going to be like two teams that drive down to the red zone and can't score. And then, yeah, I don't know. So I think that's what I foresee is just two teams that can't really pull ahead of each other, and it's just like I don't know, two kids playing in a sandbox or something. Um, so I don't expect much out of it. Maybe we'll get a little bit going. Maybe there'll be a spark somewhere, but I keep saying that every week, and it's just not. We had our chances heading into some of the tougher opponents. We didn't take advantage of it, so I don't see how we're all of a sudden going to find whatever we're missing.
Completely understand. Miami plays the Bears in Soldier Field. This is a defense that just got rid of its two best players. I'm not concerned. Easy dub, easy win, victory. And that's all I got to say about that. Tua Tagovailoa. Gannon, Eagles play the Texans Thursday night. Thursday night games are random. They're crazy. The home team has a huge advantage, but they're facing the lowly Texans, whose star receiver Brandon Cooks is, well, unhappy. What do you think of this game, and are you concerned? Do you have beads of sweat dripping down?
I am not sweating this game. You could probably start Gardner Minshew and beat the Texans.
Mm.
I yeah, so that's all I gotta say. I'm gonna end it with a win. 8-0. Keep on rolling.
Well, there's kind of our teams matchups. We kind of move that quick because, well, two of the three aren't. We're very confident, and the other one is unsure about even facing the Texans right now. So we do have a kind of a very interesting game with the Titans and Chiefs. The Chiefs are 12.5 point favorites, but the Titans just keep winning and are the number one team in the AFC South. Does this game interest you at all, or is that 12.5 point line show that the Titans are pretenders, not very good? Tom.
I don't see them being an issue for the Chiefs. I mean, so whenever I look at the Chiefs or the Bills, both those teams, it's like, can the other team score 40 or 50 points? If not, I don't like it. Doesn't even matter if the Chiefs can't stop the offense. It doesn't matter because their offense is going to score 40 plus points, and I don't think Henry alone can get them to 40. So no, I don't think the Titans will be much of a matchup for the Chiefs.
Gannon?
Henry alone. I mean, last week, Henry got 32 carries for 219 yards,
No.
2 touchdowns. He was
It,
the only he was the only thing. And they barely beat the Texans. They beat them by 7 points. I don't think that they're going to go to the Chiefs and dominate them. I think the Chiefs are going to run rampant on them, and you're going to see a 40-point game.
just so you know that hurt when I saw Henry go for 200 yards when I was facing him in fantasy football. Like that hurt, like
Yeah,
legitimately hurt.
I'm sure it did.
Um, So, well, as far as matchups this week, to me that was the one that really stood out. So there was something, and kind of going back to the trade deadline, there were two players that didn't get traded that I kind of wanted to kind of end the podcast on, and by that I mean I forgot to bring it up earlier, so we're bringing it up now. Cam Akers with the Rams is very unhappy. He basically has said that he doesn't feel suiting up for the Rams is the best for his future. They did not trade him. He's still on the Rams. And then you had the disgruntled, well, Elijah Moore of the Jets, as well as the disgruntled Cooks, Brandon Cooks there from the Texans. Are you guys surprised that those three guys have been pretty vocal about not being happy, and yet they were not traded for? We'll kind of start with you, Gannon, and kind of quick thoughts on that as we wrap up this week.
I mean, yeah, those they're pretty solid players, and with how many trades happened at the deadline, I'm surprised nobody called about him or picked him up. Maybe the team wanted too much for him and didn't want to let him go. I don't know, but yeah, that does surprise me.
Brandon Cooks is on a bad contract, so that didn't surprise me. But Cam Akers and Elijah Moore are a little bit more surprising. Tom, your kind of opinion on those players.
Yeah, Cooks, I don't know much about that circumstance. I mean, we know of him from before, and I'm sure he just wants a shot at getting back into contention and competitiveness. Elijah Moore is one of those, like, I feel like it's just kind of, I don't, what, he isn't a rookie, right? Um, but even if he, it's just like one of those rookie mistakes to like call out that you want to trade. And I think he's kind of regretting it because the team's doing well. They're starting to get some momentum. And then even they came out this week and the coach is like, hey, we're working through it with him. We're going to, he's back on, like, he's trying to, he's there. He's fully committed. He's doing what he needs to do. So I think that's kind of working its way out with him. I think it was just him, saying something he probably shouldn't have to begin with. Um, and then Cam Akers, I don't know. There's got to be something else going on with Akers because it didn't seem like anyone really wanted him. And the Rams are deciding not to play him for no reason besides they don't want to play him. So there's something else going on there. And the Rams, neither side seem to want to make this work. So I guess he just sits out until the end of the year and then they figure out what to do with him. But yeah, there's something. There's more than just whatever going on with Cam Akers.
I wonder what's going on in the background. Absolutely. Well, it was a very busy day today. It was a busy week. I think this was a pretty action-packed podcast this week. I think we covered a whole lot. I tell you guys this every time. This is like my favorite part is the final thoughts portion because we get to say whatever off the wall stuff we want. Gannon, your final thoughts as we wrap up this week.
God, I don't know. Eagles 10-0. That's my final thought. That's my goal. It's 10-0. Get there.
All right, and Tom, final thoughts. Also, non NFL related. Should Tennessee be the number one team in college football, as well as your final thoughts, and go.
My final thoughts and most is just frustration, but I'm still on the bench Brady bandwagon, and let's see what happens. I don't know. Maybe it'll work. With Tennessee, how can you not put them as number one? We destroyed Alabama by a field goal at the last second. And then last week, man, I can't remember who we were playing. But it was Kentucky, I think. Number 19 in the country. It was like 44-10 or something. That's a ranked team. We're destroying them. I I think we're playing Georgia this week. It's upcoming. I'm pretty sure it's this week. So we're playing the number one team in the country. So we're about to find out if we should have been ranked number one. I'm pretty sure we're like tied for number two right now with Ohio State. No, we're coming for Georgia. This is our year. Since like I think it was 1998. It's the last time we were undefeated this long and into the season. 1998, we went completely undefeated the entire season. We're doing it again. We're back finally after 15 years.
Well, my final thought is this. Georgia was up on Florida 28-3. And boy, I was rooting for Georgia to blow that game for nothing else than another Georgia team blowing a 28-3 lead. And with that, thank you everybody for hanging out. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. We will be back live next week at 8:30 Eastern Tuesday. And as always, you can catch us on YouTube, The Fumbling Gurus. And if you see us on YouTube, well, check us out on Twitch. We're live Tuesdays at The Fumbling Gurus. All right, thank you guys. Have a great one.